Welcome to today's video, where we'll explore the top 4 chess traps that can catch even the most experienced players off guard and secure quick victories. Let's dive right in. Trap number 4 is the Halosar Trap, and this is a 9-move checkmate that is absolutely insane. There is a queen sacrifice involved. First, you start with pawn to e4. Once again, black responds with pawn to d5. We get another Scandinavian defense, but here we play pawn to d4. This is the Blackmar-Diemer Gambit, and once again you sacrifice the e4 pawn. However, this time it is slightly different. Now this pawn is hanging, so just go ahead and develop your knight by playing knight to c3, attacking the pawn once again. Here black does not want to lose their one-pawn advantage for no reason, so they play knight to f6 to defend the pawn. Now you play the typical gambit move, which is pawn to f3. You are once again attacking the pawn, threatening to recapture it. Since black wants to maintain their one-pawn advantage, they capture on f3. The most common move here by far is recapturing with the knight, but in this Halosar trap, you actually play something called the Ritter Gambit. By capturing with the queen, queen takes on f3 instead. Now this is a lot more dangerous because you allow black to capture a second pawn on d4, and many players will go ahead and take it immediately. So you are now down 2 pawns, but in return, you have a very aggressive position. Here, you will play bishop to e3, developing the bishop while attacking black's queen. After this, black will likely slide their queen over to b4, attacking the pawn on b2. At this point, you set a fantastic trap by castling queenside. With this move, you defend the b2 pawn, bring your king to safety, and activate the rook on the now open d-file, which will be very important. However, black might think you have made a blunder because they can play bishop to g4. At first glance, it looks like you have made a big mistake since the bishop is defended by both the knight and the queen. At first glance, it looks like you are getting skewered. Your queen and your rook are lined up, and you will have to move your queen, lose your rook, and everything falls apart. But no, that is not the case. Here, you do not move your queen. Instead, you play an absolutely stunning move, knight to b5. What a brilliant move, seemingly on the complete other side of the board, but it is simply winning. Why? Well, what if black simply captures your queen, as almost everyone in this position would? Now, you deliver a beautiful checkmate with knight takes on c7. The king is completely trapped. The rook controls 2 key squares, and black has no escape. That is a fantastic victory. The Vienna trap, which arises after pawn to e4, pawn to e5, and now knight to c3, the Vienna opening. There are actually many traps in the Vienna, as it is a very tricky opening, and you should definitely consider playing it. However, this one is my favorite because it features a beautiful pattern that wins a queen. Here, black develops with knight to f6, a natural move. Now you play the very dangerous pawn to f4, the Vienna Gambit. This gambit is so dangerous because it almost does not feel like a true gambit. If black captures the pawn, which the vast majority of players do, then you immediately gain a strong position by playing pawn to e5, attacking their knight. I want to ask you, where can this knight move? It cannot go to these squares because our knight controls them. It cannot move to these squares because our queen covers them. The only square left is back to g8, which is a depressing move because all of black's pieces are now stuck on the back rank. Because of this, many players try to play queen to e7, not most but a significant number attempting to unpin the pawn so we cannot capture. However, you can very simply counter this by unpinning with queen to e2. Now, black is forced to move their knight back to g8, but their queen is in a very vulnerable position. This is how they lose. First, you continue developing by playing knight to f3, preventing any potential queen to h4 check tricks. The most common response from black is pawn to d6, trying to attack the pawn and break through. Now you win with an incredible tactical move, knight to d5. This move attacks black's queen and, more importantly, threatens the c7 pawn. Now black has to move their queen somewhere. If they try moving it to e6, then knight takes on c7, delivers a check, forking the king and queen. Black is going to lose their queen, and they will be in a completely losing position. However, that is not actually the main trap. Most players will see this threat and instead try to move their queen back to d8, keeping the pawn defended. At first glance, everything looks fine for black, but here you have an incredible tactical move. Knight takes on c7 anyway. What a brilliant move! Once again, you fork black's king and queen. They are forced to capture the knight, otherwise they lose too much material. But now, it takes on d6, an absolutely devastating move. With this, you deliver a discovered check, attack black's queen, and cover the square where they might try to block with their queen, meaning you can still capture it no matter what. At this point, black has no real way to defend. Their best attempt is probably bishop to e7, but you simply capture it, remaining up a massive amount of material. Black has absolutely no chance, and you are completely winning. The Damiano trap. You start with pawn to e4. Once again, black responds with pawn to e5, and now you play knight to f3, attacking the e5 pawn. The vast majority of players here will defend the pawn with either knight to c6 or pawn to d6. However, the move that almost nobody plays, except for some beginners, is pawn to f6, attempting to defend the e5 pawn with another pawn. So, what is the problem with this move? Well, you have an absolutely insane sacrifice as early as move 3. Knight takes on e5. This move is completely shocking, but it is already winning. At this point, 99% of players will capture the knight back with pawn takes on e5, but this immediately loses the game. You might be wondering, why is this so bad? Black's position might still look okay at first glance. The answer is queen to h5 check. With this move, you are attacking black's king while also targeting the extremely weak e5 pawn. At this point, black is either going to lose a lot of material or get checkmated. First, many players try pawn to g6, attempting to block the check. From here, you can easily win a rook with queen takes on e5. This move attacks black's king and their rook, creating a beautiful fork. Black has no way to defend. They can try to block, but you simply capture, leaving you up a full rook. Even if black manages to take a pawn, you can just slide your king over, and there is no real danger. You are completely winning. The other common attempt is king to e7. At this point, you can deliver checkmate, or at the very least, get extremely close. By playing queen takes on e5. Black's only escape is king to f7, but now you play bishop to c4 check, and they are simply lost. There is no way for black to defend, and the game is over. Let me show you one example of how this can play out if black tries king to g6. This is one way they can get checkmated. You play queen to f5 check, and black has only one legal move, sliding their king over. From here, the position becomes completely devastating. You play pawn to h4. The purpose of this move is to prevent black from playing pawn to g5, as you would simply capture it. The most common response here is pawn to g6, attempting to attack your queen and drive it away. However, now you play an absolutely brutal move, pawn to d4. With this move, you reveal an attack from your bishop onto black's king, delivering a discovered check. Black has no real options here. They are simply lost. They might now attempt pawn to g5, but this only allows your plan to come to full effect. You capture the pawn, delivering a double check from your rook and pawn. Black is forced to retreat, and now queen to f7 delivers a beautiful checkmate. Trap number 1, the legal trap. This is an 8-move checkmate. Pawn to e4, pawn to e5, knight to f3, pawn to d6, knight to c3, knight to c6, bishop to c4, bishop to g4, pawn to h3 attacks the bishop. If black plays bishop to h5, you surprise them with knight takes on e5. If black captures your queen, you respond with bishop takes on f7, check king moves up, then knight to d5, and that's checkmate. It's a brilliant trap, and black never saw it coming. If you enjoyed this video, then like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.